Shalom, beloved family. It's your girl Sophia Spiritual Light, and we're here with um, I guess, an addendum or part two to my St. Lucia video yesterday because um, I noticed a few things, the great noticing, of course. I noticed a few things that I wanted to point out so that you can get your thinking caps on how we can better identify the rest of the angels out here and how they operate. Especially, the ultimate goal is figuring out how the mother communicates so that we can communicate in the language that she communicates in. So, as I mentioned in the video I did yesterday, the part one, yesterday was the day that they celebrate Saint Lucia. And as you can see on the screen, you have 21 Sagittarius. That is the celestial form of the one they call Saint Lucia. That's the one of the forms that she took. Angelic, the celestial hierarchy is one where you rise through the ranks. So that's just maybe one of the first stops on the rank. I don't know exactly how that works yet. So we're just taking baby steps here. So we so far we've just tied St. Lucia to 21 Sagittarius. That's basically the extent of what has happened. And so, like I mentioned, that I was going to do, I supercharged the white candle, asked her to bring, joy and happiness and love and peace to me and to the nation. And similarly, I called up her um, 21 Sagittarius, the infernal side, as you do when you supercharge a candle. And I told them to wreak havoc. And today we see that, already this guy is taking his life. And then there's some other people, some other stuff going on. I've seen on the internet stuff coming out about Brett Favre and some of the other stuff that he's been doing. But one of the main things I noticed is that um, today is the anniversary of that thing that occurred in Connecticut. Um, with the so-called kids and something about sand and maybe Captain Hook. I'm not trying to get my channel banned before this, so you'll have to put it together. So I realized that I found out that this is the anniversary of that thing that happened in Connecticut. And I said, well, wait a second. Whoa, 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 whoa. You mean to tell me the day after St. Lucia's Day, this thing happened? So that presents a whole nother understanding of how they use the infernal spirits because I got the feeling that that is how they got that event to be successful in what they were doing. They called on the infernal side of St. Lucia and used that energy to do this event on the day after her day was over. So it couldn't happen on today because this is her day. You can't infringe on the angels' days, but you can occur right after them. And so I get the feeling that that's how they've been getting these events to happen. They I never looked at them this closely um to see how certain things go, but it seems like on certain days they can get away with doing stuff. And if it's a big keystone like we have here with 21 Sag, which is a huge keystone person, they can't do stuff on their days. They have to wait until the day after their day. They have to harness, or what they do is they harness all the energy that's going out on that day, and then they use it to do the kind of stuff that they're going to do. So, if you did, light a candle or something like that yesterday, I did it for everybody, so it doesn't matter. We harnessed a lot of energy that day, and we're seeing the results of that energy that we harness. And so, this video is this is kind of like for advanced people who have already been like trying different stuff or whatever so that you can understand how this things how it plays out in real time, because it's one thing to have a discussion about it. Again, as I always say, it's one thing to have an academic discussion about it. It's a totally different thing to see that, okay, well, I know what I did. Me personally, I lit my candle, I asked for them to come, this and that. And yesterday I had um, even though it was, I would say my day overall, like I said, when I put the video out yesterday, it was already 1 o'clock. I had been up since 5:45. I did not get home and get into my bed until 1 a.m. because I can't even tell you all the insane things that happened, but it was still like I was in a joyful mood. I was having a good day, even though it was like a bunch of crazy stuff, like for example, I said, oh, when I was in my video yesterday, I said, oh, I'm gonna leave out of here and go get ready to go pick up my kids. Well, I went over because, like I said, my car situation, I have to go over and get the school bus that we have. So I went over to get the school bus. The school bus wasn't even there. So then I had to come back home, wait until the school bus was going to be there, and then go back. And then as soon as I had a bunch of stuff I was trying to get into the mail to harness that energy. So I went to the post office and um, no, I was not able to go to the post office. I had to go to the bank to get stuff notarized so that I could go to the post office. So I go to the bank. I don't have enough money in my account to do the transaction that I need to do. So I had to deposit money and then get the money order. Then I didn't know who the money order was going to and stuff like that. Then I'm still like in a good mood though. I'm just laughing and joking. Then I go over to the school. I get to the school. The school bus overheats. So I wasn't able to make it home at that time. I made it to, um, luckily, I was able to squeeze my way over to this pizza place. So I had already picked up the girls. So we sat and we had pizza. And then um, another family member um came to pick them up from where I was, and then I because I was waiting for the van to cool down so I could put coolant in there. So I had to walk across the street. Luckily the Walmart is right across the street. Walk across the street to Walmart, come back, fill the thing up with the coolant, but the reservoir was still practically empty. So my dad said, well, you should be able to make it home, but then you have to let the van cool down again and put some water in there because you already put a lot of coolant, but you really need to put the coolant into the radiator. So I was like, okay. So I drove home. And when I get in the house, I remembered, oh, I still have to go to the post office. But some of the stuff I need is at my sister's house. Some of the stuff I have to make copies of. So I made the copies that I have to make, waited about an hour and a half, let the van cool all the way down, fill the reservoir up with the whatever fluid, go back over to my sister's house, pick up the stuff from her. Then I go to the post office. I get to the post office, I have the wrong thing. I need something with the green tab, and instead I only have the one with the um I don't have the one with the green tab. I have the just tracking, which is not what I needed. I needed the green tab. So I had to come back home. Then I went back out to put gas in the car because since the engine was overheating, I didn't want to stop and get gas. So I went back over to put gas in the car. I stopped at another post office. That post office, their kiosk wasn't working. So I couldn't send it there. So then I went to the Wawa and got gas. And then there was another post office that was by the Wawa. I stopped at that one and I was able to get my letter sent off. And by that time it was about 11:45. So I get back to my sister's house, drop the van off, get on my electric bike, ride it back over to my house. Then once I get in the house, I'm trying to organize stuff. I left papers everywhere because I've been sending out all of these packets and stuff, trying to get people's stuff together. So I just sent all of the. I just have to organize all this stuff, and then eventually I finally make it into the bed. Like I said, it was about 1 o'clock. But the whole time I was like, okay, well, this is cool. I was not anxious. I was not hyped up. I didn't feel any sort of anything about it. It was just like, oh, okay, well, this is what's happening next, and then whatever is happening next, and I'll just deal with it when it happens. So it was very it was very calming because let me see, I was able to light my candle when I came back while I was waiting for the engine to cool down while I was at the house. So I supercharged my candle and I lit it and I prayed over it and I lit it. all of that stuff. And I was like, okay, well, we'll see what happens. And so when I do get up this morning, first of all, I did not have to get up early. I, it was very late for me. I never get up late, but I slept in and I was like, okay, because today is my day. And I was like, well, I'm just going to try and take it easy. I hadn't even intended on recording a video, but I started seeing this stuff about this guy, and I was like, I don't even know who this guy is, and I still really don't know who he is because I never watched that show that he was on or any of the shows because I don't watch TV. So I didn't have no understanding of what everybody was upset about. People are already conspiracying it out and whatever. I was just like, okay, well, I don't have to get involved in any of this. This has nothing to do with me. And some other people passed, and I saw the thing about Brett Favre's text messages, and I was like, "Oh boy, that's going to be bad." And then I saw this thing about the thing that happened in Connecticut, and I was like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa." And all the things, because like always say, I'm a recovering conspiracy theorist, so I follow these things very closely. I said, well, in all the things I ever heard about this day, nobody ever said it was the day after St. Lucia's Day. So that, and then seeing, just the chaos, because specifically what I asked for. And generally, what I ask for is to torment the people who are tormenting our people, torment and torture the people who are bringing our people trouble, who are causing our people to be upset, and who just in general need to go. They're creating too much, um, you know, uh, too many issues. And you see who was taken out. That's a direct shot at the music industry. Oh, I know what other thing. The stupid court hearing with Meg the Boy Horse and the guy with the lanes and stuff. So I'm like, oh, okay, this thing is taking a very interesting turn and whatever. So I'm like, huh, this is interesting. But yeah, that thing that happened in Connecticut, I said, whoa, 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 hold up, Slim, hold it fast. You mean to tell me today is the day after that day? Okay. So I just wanted to point that out to you. So I definitely see a correlation between how they will take these days of the mother. Now remember, this whole, even with the St. Lucia, this all came about trying to figure out what the feast days were for the mother. So this is what they do with the mother's energy. They take the mother's energy, they harness it all through the day that they have you celebrating their mother, and then the next day or whenever they use it to execute some horrendous thing. And so this is why it is, I'm not saying you have to celebrate everything the way everyone else does it, but just keep in mind if you're not harnessing the energy, that they're harnessing the energy to use it against you. And so this is where it comes, you know the point where if you're going to use the light or the dark, or if you're going to be in the middle, because it's obvious now to me what they're doing. They're taking the middle path, but they're taking it fraudulently. Here's what I mean by that. You'll have people out there celebrating St. Lucia's Day or whatever, right? No, let's take Valentine's Day. You'll have people out there celebrate, or let's take Thanksgiving, even better. You'll have people out there celebrating Thanksgiving. They'll celebrate it with you, collect all of that energy, and then what happens next? Black Friday, where they just massacre everybody, and so that's what you this is what they're doing. So it is good that we don't participate in their system, but in order to fight fire with a flamethrower, we actually have to participate in their system and wrangle the energy back from them and use it, direct it towards where we want it to go, not where they have it going. And that's the part where we're at right now. Like we've weakened them so much by removing our energy now, in order to, as from a strategic point of view, in order to do a KO knockout, we have to go back into their system, harness all the energy out of it, and like Miss Sister Pat said with that stinger, use that stinger to whop and knock them out. You know, the that's the only thing that makes sense to me. I mean, I feel like I mostly am crazy and say a bunch of stuff that just seems totally off the wall, but having seen the last 2 days play out and observed them, even Thanksgiving, I mean, as I mentioned, it was that weekend where we got a huge piece of information that, um, you know, uh, uh made certain things impossible to for them to move forward the way that they have been, because we have certain information about how their financial system works that they've been hiding. So without that information, it's kind of hard to have the moral authority on your actions. But when you have certain information, you have the high road. You can say, no, 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 this is your document, this is your process that you have. I demand equal access to your document and your process. And then, following it up with having a way to basically deal with it, that's a whole nother set of things. And so all I'm saying is I'm noticing. It's not the noticing that the Edomites and the Gentiles are doing, by noticing that the Ish people are running a whole bunch of things, but I'm noticing how they have been harnessing the energy from the mother's days, because especially since we decided to fully just check out of them and basically turn our backs on her. But that's neither here nor there, because we did that to the father too. So by turning our backs on her day and just letting these Gentiles do whatever they're going to do, they've been running wild. And now we have the opportunity, with this information, this understanding, to reverse all of that energy directly back on them. And so I'm even firmer in my belief that we need to reverse their energy back to them. And remember, the way that you reverse energy is with intent. It doesn't Everything else is irrelevant right now, because the universe seems to communicate in intent. Meaning, if you watch any of those that other guy's videos I post, Sam the Illusionist, one of the key things I keep hearing that's coming out when the intelligences use him as their instrument. And if you listen to him, that's what they call him as he is being used. He is called an instrument. Just keep that in mind. So, because we're probably going to end up having to talk about that at some point, but as he's being used as their instrument, he is always saying, or the intelligences are always saying, you know, ways that you can raise your vibration is to it is with your imagination. And so imagination and intent are basically the same thing. So one of the things, I think I posted a video yesterday, is that the intelligence has suggested that this is basically what it is. He didn't know how to explain it, but I know exactly what it is. Basically what it is, you have to, once you have done a lot of the healing, and that sort of things, once you've done a lot of the healing, you have to actually go back and relive that time with a better outcome. It sounds even crazier than the last things I said, but essentially what it is you go back to all of your worst memories and you relive them with better outcomes. Meaning you rewrite the code that's in your mind about that event to a new code. You create a new neural pathway for that event. So instead of that event being a traumatizing event, that event becomes an empowering event, and you can move forward with the confidence that you need, because instead of having that traumatizing event left on your record, you have it as a non-traumatizing event. And like, for example, let's say um uh you were in like fourth grade and somebody pantsed you or something, right? So once you've healed from that trauma of having yourself exposed in front of the class and people laughing and all of that, you have to go back into your memory and relive that whole event as if you didn't get pants. And that will create the new memory over the old memory, and then you don't have the old memory anymore. It's when somebody brings it up, or when the demons bring it up specifically, you could be like, I don't know who it is you talking about. That wasn't me. That was somebody else. I don't know what that's about. And so you have to do that with all of your life events until you are fully living in a time which every time you do something, it turns out good. Like me, every time something happens to me, it ends up being good for me. And so that's a faction of, I've done this process. I've been doing this process. Like I said the other day, as quickly as I learn something, I can unlearn it and relearn it. And then it's like I just do it automatically. When I have like things that are not good happen to me, I will just automatically unlearn that whole thing and reprogram it with what I wanted so that when I don't, when somebody tries to bring up, oh, don't you remember this? I'll be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I don't because that's not the way that I remember it. Our memories are very powerful. We're just not using them the right way. So that technique that he described, that's basically what it is. So even like the situation with my car, at this point, I'm like, you know, because I found a remedy to resolve that problem. And so I'm wondering if it's even worth resolving that problem, or if it's better to just rewrite that event as, okay, my car was literally going to die on me, and I just let them take it to the shop, and it's just in the shop somewhere. And if I get the money to replace the engine, because it's going to need another engine or transmission. Actually, I'm on my second transmission. It's going to need another transmission. So if I really feel like getting another transmission, then I will, if I get the extra money to do that, I will go back in there and I'll just pick it up. But in the meantime, I could go without it. I'll find some other alternative, or I'll just get a new car, because usually that's what happens when I have a car and it's messing up. I just send it back where it came from, and then I get another one. The last few months, I haven't really felt super compelled to get another car, but with what happened to the school bus yesterday, I'm kind of like, yeah, it might be time to start working on that whole process again, because you know I wasn't able to resolve it. So anywho, that's that. But that's just so you understand the thought process behind that. Like, you have to, with no matter what the situation, if you don't feel like it was a positive outcome for you, you have to go back and rewrite that event. Especially people who have been like had sexual assault or anything like that. It's really, really important to, once you heal from that, to go back and rewrite that event so that it didn't happen, because it'll be a new neural pathway created for you. But the person who did it, no, that they get actually stuck with everything that they did, plus all the way that you felt about it. So you're really remo- removing it from you and your energy field completely, and putting it on the other person. And that's really, really key to healing, because energy doesn't die, it just transfers. And so what you need to do is transfer that energy back to the person. And again, with us, I say us because not really me so much, but I'll include me with you guys. With us skipping holidays and stuff like that, there's a lot of energy that's just basically been floating around because we weren't giving it the energy. So now you have to, so it's basically like you have a savings account full of energy now. You need to go and make some withdrawals, and you withdraw your energy to deal with this situation, to deal with that situation, whatever. It's I would say that, and you get interest, because even though there's no interest, the Most High says don't charge interest, but you're dealing with people who charge interest on every single thing that they do. So not only are you able to withdraw that energy and use it for what you want to use it for, you get to use it with interest. So like when I was looking for this information for this whole, you know, we'll just call it the bill pay process, I was withdrawing lots of energy that I had stored up to resolve issues, and directing that energy towards answering these questions that I had. And so that is kind of like, this is kind of like how the mother communicates in these numbers, and this sort of financial system, the way that they have it set up. She communicates in this way with us, but we just don't know how to, I would say, redesign. So, for example, or another example is, I was watching Lord Oseron's videos. I'm sorry, I have to say his name like that because that's how he says it. And he had a video where he was talking about how the tree of, he calls it the true tree of life, and he calls it the jewel of creation. And he had a video where he was talking about when you fold them in on each other, the two become one. You fold the tree of life up and you fold the jewel of creation down. what you end up with in the middle is a four, like a diamond shape, and on the top number in the shape is a 5, on the bottom number of the shape is the 6, and on the two sides is 8, and he calls that the heart of the great Lord. And that's how it is, because the 8 and the 8 are balanced, and the 5 and the 6 are actually the representation from the tree of life, and then the representation of the 5 is from the jewel of creation where it's located. And so once you start to see patterns like that, you're kind of like, okay, so maybe I withdrew my information, my, like, let's say for example, Columbus Day. I withdrew um my energy from Columbus Day, um, by X, Y, and Z. And I deposited that energy from Columbus Day on working on this project I was working on, or I withdrew my energy from 4th of July, which I did, and I deposited that energy on trying to get this information for the bill pay. So now what I'm saying, which works. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but for the people who are more advanced, now we can say, all right, I'm going into you're going to be, instead of being the debtor, you're going to be the creditor. So when I went into my day yesterday, I said, well, I'm going to collect all of the energy that's coming in this day, and I'm going to deposit it with what I'm asking for. And so it's not a change in activity, but it's a change in intent. And same thing with Christmas. I will go into Christmas saying, look, I'm going to gather all the energy from this holiday, and I'm going to make my deposit request using my microphone, my supercharged candle, and I'm going to deposit it where I want it to be. And so when you that just that slight change from just removing your energy and taking your own, using your own energy that you would have put into that day, and instead of that, gathering the energy that's out there and redirecting it towards what you wanted to do, there's a much bigger impact. And like I said, if the mother has given us this information, we'd be remiss not to use it. Like I always say, there's a lot of tools in the toolbox. This is just one tool, and this is just a tool for gathering energy in and redirecting it on where you want it to go. And that's my suggestion moving forward. And you don't have to wait for a holiday. You could do this every day and say, okay, I'm gathering all the energy from all the people who are running around today acting crazy, and I'm going to redirect my energy at that. And then you can use your candle in that form as your intermediary until, a way is revealed when you can do it without that. So I think this is just like the next level of evolution. So that's how I will be using a supercharged candle from now on, is to gather the energy from that day and then redirect the energy towards what it is that I want to do, what it is I put into that candle. So it's more so like taking yourself from being a debtor or a wage earner to being a creditor. And I'm sure this isn't going to make any sense to anybody but Sister Tammy, but oh gosh, I'm sorry. I had to say that. This is going to sound pretty crazy, but eventually y'all will start to understand it. Is that we are not the debtors. We are the creditors. You are the bank. You are the one with the power. You are the one with the energy. You have to learn how to use it. And using it through this manner is much easier and much better and much more efficient than being a wage earner. Being a creditor is almost always better, because guess what? Everybody's just going to make their deposits. The people don't know what they're doing. Once you start getting bills in the mail, you just keep paying them. Most people don't stop and look, especially if you got auto pay. Most people out here on auto pay with their energy. They just automatically devote their energy to whatever's going on. So if people are automatically putting their energy into whatever's going on, you can turn into the creditor for that energy. You can turn into the collector of that energy. And what you do is you collect it, you tally it up, and you put it where you want to go. You redirect it. So you become a creditor of energy instead of a debtor of energy. And so I don't know how we got from St. Lucia to that, but I think that was the message that needs to be delivered. So, to the spirits who are here with us, you're invited to go in peace. To my beloved viewers, you're invited to be at peace. And always remember, the Most High is your peace. Shalom.